is our team, teammate that is in Madrid, as Juan Maria said before. So I'm going to try to explain it all together. Okay. So first of all, I know this is not here. Okay. Motivation. So why plain language matters, and what is plain language as it is? Because there is also, it's not the same as accessible language, accessible information. Plain language, as it was said before, is it's still in progress and definition. There are some series of standards, and it has to be applied for its language. But indeed, is trying to approach the information to all the population, because there are different levels of backgrounds of education and comprehension and everything. So why is plain language important? Well, mainly I'm not in the right computer. Main institutional, official and official online documentation and webs still are very complex for large segments of the population. So these complexity barriers, I I'm not in the I'm in the wrong computer. So, for example, these legal notices, health guidelines, administrative forms, and everything are some examples. And these complexity barriers, uh, lack of reliability for some segments of the population, which indeed takes to a reduced uptake of services, social exclusion, and erosion of trust. Okay, so an example of this is that digital platforms often display dense content with a real-time guidance for comprehension, and therefore this makes information not truly accessible. So, in order to make information truly accessible, it requires automatic support for this plain language, and this underpins the CLINFO's mission, the main objective. So now, what is CLINFO as a consortium? Well, CLINFO is a multidisciplinary research project. It's focused on advancing plain language technologies through a multidisciplinary approach. As you may see, there are a lot of experts in different topics among the team. And yeah, between these experts, it includes people that know in natural language processing, plain language, information comprehension, artificial intelligence, and that working all together, they want to improve how this institutional communication is understood by the public. Okay, so and well, this project is led by four different investigation groups from four different universities in Madrid, and also we have some the participation of some collaborators, researchers across Europe, including Greece, Germany, Austria, Turkey, and Portugal. Okay, just as a brief mention, these four groups are GIGAPD, that is the group in which I am right now. This is from the Universidad Carlos III de Madrid. Rosala, which is the group that is participating, that is allowing this conference to be done from the Universidad de Madrid, the Infoclara group from the Complutense de Madrid, and the GSI, that I believe there is no representation here, but they are from the Universidad Politécnica de Madrid. Okay. Now, as objectives of the consortium, well, as some of you may notice, to enable truly accessible institutional and social communication by combining plain language standards with AI-driven tools, to generate and create an automated text complexity assessment tool that also generates actionable suggestions to make these public documents, web content, PDF forms, understandable for all the users, and also foster social inclusion by reducing language barriers that impede the access to services and transparency. Okay, all right. Now, a brief literature review before I'm defining the main challenges that the consortium face. On the first hand, well, this is a little bit technical. I think I'm going to pass it a little bit more quick. But yeah, a comparative analysis showed that the original versus guideline-driven text shows that the frequency of constructions, such as passive voice gerunds, participles, infinitives, and the se, that is from Spanish, constructions varies unpredictable across text blocks and guidelines. Also, guidelines tend usually to reduce the incidence of long words and long sentences, but there are some exceptions. Not always. The lexical simplicity depends on the content and specific rule sets for each guide. Also, there are some readability metrics, but they are a little bit outdated and they do not align properly. So there is in fact a need, a necessity to generate new indexes that evolve according with the language, because many of them, I believe, they are 30 years old. Okay, next one. Yeah. And so, for example, the ratio of personal verbs to non-personal verbs also remains similar pre and post simplification, indicating that this syntactic feature may not be considered consistently altered by applying these guidelines. So, all of these variations underscore the need for an adaptive, context-aware approaches to this text complexity evaluation in Spanish that combines multiple metrics with empirical user validation, rather than relying on a single rule or rules from a guideline or an index. And now, briefly, the 5 key research challenges that the consortium, the group, has to complete in order to approach their objectives are one, understanding the complexity assessment, how the indexes or different guidelines should be applied to the text. Also, explainable recommendations in order for the official groups, institution, and the people that edit or generate these texts modify the contents. Also, web scale integration, cross-lingual and domain adaptation. This, I believe, is the most difficult and will probably be the last bit of the project to be completed. And also that it allows human-centered validation. In the original presentation, I did go through all of these challenges, but would be very dense, and we will probably be here until I also have a grandson. So I am going to pass it to the next part, which is the pilot study. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we did a pilot study. We divided it in 2 pilot studies among 24. It's not very big. We want just to test the different tools because to generate a corpus and to see how people understand and see how clear are different texts of corpus. We have to ask them, we have to provide some text and see the feedback and how they comprehend it. So, okay. With this study, as I said, we just wanted to test our procedure. We tried with Prolific and Google Form. The Prolific to get different people from different backgrounds and find it and to find some people to do or forms, because not everybody is willing to do a form freely, so we have to provide some remuneration in order to get it, and also to see how the official tests affect the how people see how clear it's it and its comprehension for different backgrounds, mainly the education background and the country of origin, which in the end isn't really true, because we threw out the tests and only high-level education people answered it. Okay, so the next part, our 3 main questions that we were trying to answer with this pilot study was how really Spanish readers understand this sort of visual text, because they were just paragraphs. Which specific topics or terms were both perceived with less or more clarity and accuracy, and also to do a tracking of how they perceive the clarity and how is it really related to accuracy, and is it useful for modeling. Okay, so now regarding the materials and tags, we use 5 different authentic texts. One from 3 from the Boletín Oficial de Estado, which is the one that regulates legal text from in Spain, and the other from the Agencia Estatal. I don't remember the acronym properly, but it's the one that regulates taxes mainly. And all of them are between 80 and 120 words, dense, legal administrative, but they are all regarding relevant things, such if I stay in the country more than what number of days, should I tax here, or in which country should I tax? I am considered a resident. How do I achieve, or how many people are considering to the my home to ask for the minimal ingreso mínimo vital? I really don't know how to say it in English right now. The minimum vital income. How I have here the translation. Okay, and oh yeah, and also in for each paragraph, I haven't said this before, but in the both of studies, one was more short and the other one was longer. In the longer one, we only targeted five different countries from no five people from five different countries from Latin America, because we wanted to perceive how native Spanish speakers and readers from different countries read legal text from Spain, and they were from Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, and I don't remember the other two right now. But and the other two were from all Latin America, and it was a sorted and only two paragraphs. But all the paragraphs share the same structure. We place the paragraph, and then we write four multiple choice questions in order to see if they have understood the text. Then we place a linker question from 1 to 7 to see how they perceive the clarity of the text. And finally, we leave a free text option to see if they found any confusing terms or sentences. Okay, then we also use the middle leg tool that I haven't mentioned before, but it's a tool that the Gigabede group has been developing for the last years. It's still in process of being. It has a stable versions, but it's still in a beta version, let's say. So it mainly it uses these old indexes and checks for other things and other things like construction of the sentences, if it's in passive voice, if it's in active voice, and everything. And all of the indexes consistently said that they were very difficult, 4 out of 5, and there is a fifth index that consistently said that give it the main, the highest score for all the time. Okay. And now, well, I think I explained this before, that all of them are native speakers, Spanish speakers. We tried to get different backgrounds of education, but many of them are really from university or postgraduate majority. Also, even though we have some that only have the only secondary education, and I believe there was one person with only primary education, and most of them are currently employed, self-employed, or in process of finishing their studies. Even though also we in the paid tool that is prolific, we ask specifically that for only people that were native Spanish speakers, but I don't know how. There was still one person that was from Australia. I really don't know how this happened, but there is an English speaker that answered the question. He obviously failed the poor guy, but I don't know how it happened. And as an overall performance, mainly they were also people did great. There is a high accuracy, even though there are complex text. Even though we established a time for the second study of 9 minutes and for the first one of 12 minutes, the median is very high, and the time taken has the people has taken a lot of time to answer correctly the questions. And also, talking about the perceived clarity, I can enter into this all different data, but as a summary, there is a low correlation between how they perceive clarity and then the actual accuracy in the points. The people here you can see the perceived clarity median of the different people, and that well, it doesn't really match. It's positive, but it isn't quite high with the accuracy then they tested. Okay. And time behavior, well, just as interest fact, the first study, people give it more time. So there is a higher accuracy with a correlation of more than 0.5. And for the second study, people try to do it more faster, and there is a less correlation. And this is all. Thank you for attention. And yes, thank you.
Comment or question? One question over there.
Oh,
Rainer, please.
I'm wondering about the size of the or the number of people you have actually looked at, because I found N of 25 or so.
yeah, it's not very big. It was a very little study. Yeah.
Very little. Yeah.
It's we tried to recruit 15 people for the first study and 15 people for the second study.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, even though it was published later, had more exits, more tunes, and people answered very fast, and because it was shorter. And the first one, we only achieved 9 out of 15 people. So yeah, we are very short. But it's not really a conclusive study. It was just a pilot study to see if this prolific tool it's of interest for us, to see how different filters work, to see how many people we can access, to see the database and how many active people our users have. And yeah, it's a pilot study.
Yeah, so I mean, that is probably also true for the persons from the university. So, because normally, I mean, we had a similar project in Germany. It's called Easy Language or something like that.
Yeah.
And but usually you would expect another sort of clientele if you apply this language.
And you repeat again.
I mean that in the sense that you would not expect that people from university would have any difficulties.
Yeah. I believe, as I also passed university, and I still have not difficulty, but this text you need to read it 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 times sometimes, and then you always get almost right, or you almost manage. But there are some things that with this legal text you always miss a little, and I believe it's a small representation this study, but I don't think it's very far from there. I believe all of us, if there are 12 questions, I believe many of us will answer 12 right, but some of us also near the half will answer 11 or 12, 10 right and fail 1 or 2. It's quite pretty normal.
But I would expect that most of the population would answer a little from law text, for instance.
You see that most of the population don't understand.
Probably, I would expect that they have much lower rates.
Yeah, lower rate understanding. Yeah, I don't know. I believe these aren't the most complex. These are complex texts, but I believe that we made this study quite easy. It's only a paragraph or maybe 2 paragraphs in sometimes. But if you write a complete article to see all the conditions you need to ask for something, I believe that will really trigger the point for make it reduce considerably. I believe that when we start putting all information of legal texts, I believe that's when many more people will probably fail or do not understand. Yeah, I don't know if you want that question.
No, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions?
So, okay, so thank you very much,
Okay.
Juan. Then we can move to the next and last, the list. So,